Matt Park. Matt, are you guys are you in New York City? Have you arrived?
We literally just pulled into the parking garage of the hotel.
You did.
In the Polymobile. And he isn't hearing any of the music you're playing because he's locked in on finding a parking spot right now.
Very good.
That's fair.
Very good. You survived the trip. That's excellent. All right. What are your expectations for this game tonight? We have many of our callers are expecting Syracuse to get run out of the gym. What are you anticipating as you see Syracuse, Texas tonight at the Barclays Center?
Yeah. Again, I mean, the reason we love sports is we don't really know, right? But I see them elevating the level of oomph a little bit. I think the opponent, the venue, the road trip, that type of thing tends to get the juices flowing a little bit more than a Saturday afternoon game at home against Youngstown State. So I think we'll see that. Doesn't mean the margin or the result changes appreciably. Texas obviously has some good material, but I expect that you'll see Syracuse a little more bounce in their step, and that's literally a step in the right direction in terms of fixing some of their issues right now.
We did have a caller call in earlier, and we said that we would ask you this question. I mean, I think I know the answer, but he asked.
No.
Well, we promised we would mention it. He asked about Chance Westry, which I assume there's no chance we're going to see him. No pun intended.
Oh my God.
And they asked about Eddie Lampkin as well, and whether or not he was healthy. Thought that he looked a little bit banged up. Last time out against Youngstown State. Any update on, as far as you know, is Eddie Lampkin good to go?
As far as I know, sure. I have been occupied here and away from the basketball team for a little bit until right now. So we're going to go in and see them. And there's a team meeting in about an hour, a little less. And we'll go check in on that. But, look, Eddie Lampkin is a little heavier, thicker guy. We've all seen him out there with his back brace and this and that. I don't think he's a run like a deer kind of guy. And we have seen a lot of those, and this is a different way to go about it. It's a trade-off. It's the size that you've been looking to see in the interior that we haven't had haven't seen in a while, and so he's a different kind of athlete. And this season is still very new. We're kind of learning how all this stuff fits together and who's who and what they do and that kind of thing. And that's where Lampkin is. He's got a lot of skill, but he's a below-the-rim player, and I think it might not look that pretty, but I have no reason to think that he's unavailable tonight.
We've seen 3 close victories, obviously, Lemoyne and Colgate and then Youngstown State. The way that Syracuse played in the second half against Youngstown State and in those overtimes, it seemed like there was some good basketball in there, on both ends of the court. Do you feel like there are some things that can be taken from the second half in those 2 overtimes that maybe can hopefully apply to this team moving forward? Can they build from that, I guess, is my question to you.
Sure. I mean, that's the just ramping up of defensive intensity, I think, first and foremost. The biggest difference that's made, to kind of make sure that they sealed the Youngstown State game. And, going back to the first part of your question, do they have some things? Of course they have some things. That's what built up the enthusiasm of the year to begin with before everybody's kind of getting to the edge of the bridge here while they've won 3 games close. J.J. Starling can play and Donnie Freeman's exciting and those types of things. Those weren't new revelations in the Youngstown State game. That shows where their strengths are. I just keep coming back to the fact I think they've played sluggishly. It's 3 games. I'm not one who gets all bent out of shape about 10 palm ratings in November. There's a long way to go. Definitely room for improvement. And, tonight kicks it up a notch in terms of competition, but also in terms of the venue and all the things we've talked about. I think you have a chance to see something different.
Matt, I think the 2 key issues that people have noticed with the men's team so far this season, the 3-pointers aren't going in like people thought they were, and Coach Autry's been very open about the defense. The rebounding's been better, and we'll see how that goes against Texas. But in terms of tonight's game, I mean, Texas lost to Ohio State, and then they've beaten up on 3 very low-tier opponents. So do you think that Syracuse in this game has a better chance trying to outscore the Longhorns and make this a shootout, or do you think it's going to come down to them needing to hunker down on defense and hold them?
Well, That's a good question. I think, obviously you need to get the ball in the basket, and I think they want to play a cleaner game. My observation, what I've seen so far, nothing's really come that easily. They haven't made three-pointers. They haven't gotten to fast break points. Thinking about the first game against Lemoyne, which kind of got everybody in this mood about the season to begin with, the passes were sort of double clutched, and there's turnovers. There's a guy kicking it up his foot or catching the ball on the sideline, and those types of things that you hope don't happen over the long haul. I think they make shots tonight. This is a great venue to shoot in here at Barclays Center, and it will be for Texas too. Texas has played Cream Puff City so far, so they want to know who they are. They want to have a better performance than they've had. So that's why you play in these types of games. These are measuring sticks. That's why we're excited for it.
And after Youngstown State, a lot of people, even in our chat, were saying JJ is going to need to play like this every single game if they're going to keep winning. What do you think is realistic for JJ in terms of, a points per game, in terms of how much of the load he can carry? Because there's a lot of talent on the team, but he really stepped up to win in double overtime.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to score 38 points every game. I think that's reasonable, and that sounds like a great summation of it. Anything more than that?
Touche.
All right, man.
Look, again, I just keep coming back to it's early in the year. The pieces were put together for a reason. They did the best they can in assembling the roster in the offseason. Let's let it marinate a little bit. Starling, I do think, has a chance to take a step up. This is not a knock against Judah Mintz. We just know how Judah played and how he lent his skills to the operation. With Starling there, he has a chance to do his own thing and thrive. The other guys, Chris Bell, we know what he brings to the table. Donnie Freeman has been a double-double machine. They've got to figure out the rotation here a little bit and who contributes what off the bench. So let's see. I think this game just has this one and the two here in Brooklyn both it should tell us a little more. Now maybe it tells us something you don't want to hear, but I think these will feel a little bit different than the first three games they've played.
I know the focus is on basketball tonight, but let's ask you a couple of football questions before we let you go. And, Fran Brown has kind of downplayed the importance of 8 wins. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You know that Syracuse does not win 8 regular season games on a regular basis. It's happened only once since 2001 and hopefully about to happen twice. How significant would a win on Saturday be? Not that it's over UConn, but that it's 8-3 going into the last game against Miami. How significant would that be for this program?
I think it's big. I think it's a good chance you win this when you're ranked. So that's again, even if it's only briefly or whatever at the bottom of the poll, it does matter to have your name scrolling across the screen. It does matter to dip your toe into those waters and at least claim you're ranked in the short term. And maybe long term, maybe you beat Miami and you move up the rankings. It shows signs of progress. All those types of things we're talking about, again, from a business perspective, getting more tickets sold and fannies in the seats, and all of those things up every time you win. So every win is significant and impactful. UConn, I think, is not the rollover that was maybe assumed to be back in the offseason or in August. And, to win this game would be a big one and have a little momentum going into the Miami game.
And then lastly, what concerns you most about this UConn team from a Syracuse perspective? I know they've got those 3 running backs all averaging better than 5 yards per carry. Is that the biggest issue heading into this game for Syracuse, that they have to stop the run?
Well, to me it is. When I see that just on paper and you start to think, well, they've got 3 basically equally productive running backs, they aren't all going to have a bad day.
Yeah,
you probably aren't going to shut down all 3 of them. So somebody will do their thing and or at least be a threat. So you got to be mindful of it. And slowing the run game is important in any game, of course.
All right, noon kick on Saturday. But first things first, basketball tonight at the Barclays Center. Matt, thanks for coming on. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, voice of the Orange, Matt Park, joining us here on the show. And with that, we'll take our final time out, and we will wrap things up on the other side. There is time for a phone call if you want to check in, 315-437-7644. If you want to give us your prediction on the game tonight, we will wrap things up next.